folks. We're going to go ahead and get started. It's about 6:06 right now. And again, my name is Michael Cadigan, and I'm an attorney for Universal Waste Systems here in Albuquerque. And we're here tonight to discuss Universal Waste Systems Incorporated's application for a solid waste transfer station at 5520 Broadway. And I think I recognize most of you from prior meetings, but in case there's anyone who doesn't know what a solid waste transfer center is, it's a facility where the little collection trucks that go out to everybody's house and picks up their trash, they take the trash or the solid waste to a central location where it is placed into larger vehicles for transport 25 miles west to the Cerro, Colorado landfill. The idea of a transfer station is having 3 or 4 trucks make trips out to Cerro, Colorado every day instead of 30 or 40 little trucks. The idea is that you save wear and tear on the roads as well as diesel fuel, diesel emissions, and traffic. So Universal Waste has proposed to construct and operate a transfer station down here on Broadway, about a mile south of here. So for those of you who don't know, Universal Waste is a family-owned company. Mark Blackburn is here. He's the owner and president. He and his wife and adult children own the company. There's no shareholders. It's not Wall Street. It's just him and his family. And so he's with us here tonight to address some of the concerns that you all at our last meeting wanted to hear from Mr. Blackburn specifically about. Also here tonight is Reagan Vaughn, who's the government relations and regulatory manager for UWS in New Mexico, and Ernie Byers, who's the local manager of the New Mexico facility. And of course you all recall Scott McKittrick and Matthew Earthman, who are from Souder Miller, and they're not engineers, or at least one of them. Geologist and geologist. 2 geologists in one room. How many geologists does it take to... and 1 lawyer. All right. You all probably know Universal Waste has operated its solid waste collection business just down the street here. And it's been 9 years. I couldn't believe when Ernie told me that it's been 9 years that we've been working on this. And as you also may recall, in 2019, Bernalillo County approved a special use permit for Universal Waste to build and operate a transfer station on their property. And then we began the rather long process of applying for an Environment Department permit to operate a transfer station, because the New Mexico Environment Department governs transfer facilities. So in 2024, we submitted an application, and some of you may recall last year we had a hearing on that application down at the airport Hyatt, or whatever it's called these days. And after that hearing, the hearing officer recommended approval of that permit. However, in October of 2024, the Secretary of the Environment entered an order requiring Universal Waste to prepare what's called a cumulative impact assessment. And what that is to do is to we had to have our geologists go out and take another look at how is this facility, combined with the other facilities that are in the area, going to affect the health and environment in the area. So in March of 2025, the cumulative impact statement was completed and circulated to all the parties who had entered an appearance. In March, we completed the CIA, and then later in March, we put out a notice of a hearing or a meeting that took place here in April to discuss the cumulative impact statement and to solicit suggestions from the community for mitigation. And approximately 30 people attended that meeting. Questions and comments were taken. And then on May 21st, 2025, we filed a revised cumulative impact statement that took into account the comments that you all had made. So based on suggestions from you all, we gave some additional public notice and scheduled this meeting. It was suggested at the last meeting that we mail postcards to residents. So what we did is we drew a 1-mile circle around the facility, and we mailed postcards for this meeting to every residential address within 1 mile of this project. 478 postcards were mailed. Emails were sent to all of the people who had provided a legible email address at the prior meeting, and to the various city and county government officials. As you may know, in the notice of meeting for this meeting, we also established a website at the somebody suggested that we create a website. So we did create a website. Actually, Scott's and Matthew's company created www.uwsbroadway.com, where all of the permit materials are available, the notices, all of the comments, etc. That's sort of the clearinghouse for information about this project. It also has a place where you can leave comments. And as of today, there hasn't been any comments, so if you have any comments you'd like to make in writing, please do go to that website, and which is on the notice of this meeting, and leave those comments. So what we wanted to talk about today, I think, at least from my point of view, I want to talk about the 7 things that Universal Waste has agreed to do to try to reduce the impact of the facility on the community. And then Mark Blackburn would like to talk to you a little bit and interact with you all and understand your concerns, and we'll go from there. So recall that the Environment Department asked us to look at, are there some mitigation strategies we can use to reduce the impact on the community? We heard from you at the last meeting, and so there are 7 things that we are incorporating into the permit as changes. Some of them were kind of changed before the meeting, some of them have been changed since the meeting, some of them are based on things that have happened outside these meetings, but here they are. Here's what UWS has agreed to do. First of all, we have agreed to modify the permit to reduce the total number of tons per day to be processed from a maximum of 2,000 per day, with an average of 1,300 per day, downward to a maximum of 1,200 tons per day and an average of 800 per day. So this is a 40% reduction in volume, which I think that the main concern folks have had is the number of trucks coming in and out of that Broadway facility. So this will reduce the number of truck trips per day. The second item that was raised was that this facility was going to be taking solid waste from communities that are far away, Santa Fe, Cibola County, Farmington, et cetera, et cetera. And we talked about the fact that there are other transfer stations where those communities are served. But to accommodate those concerns, what we have done is we're amending the permit to limit the counties from which waste can come to this facility to 4 counties, which are all contiguous here: Bernalillo, Sandoval, Torrance, and Valencia. So this facility will only take waste from those counties unless there is an emergency. Now, if there's an emergency, like there's a fire at the Santa Fe landfill, or there's a flood or something like that, there might be a limited short period of time where on an emergency basis a material would come from a different county. But day to day, it'll just be those 4 counties.
So which 4 counties, I'm sorry?
Yes, Bernalillo, Sandoval, Torrance, Valencia. So the other thing that at the April meeting people were concerned about was traffic on Broadway, and as we talked about last time, we've been working with the New Mexico Department of Transportation to design turn-ins and turnouts. The traffic engineers call those deceleration and acceleration lanes, but it's basically a place where the trucks can get out of traffic so that people aren't piling up behind the trucks, both when they're coming in and when they're going out. And so as part of our negotiated strategy with the Department of Transportation, UWS will pay for and build a 600-foot dedicated deceleration lane for traffic coming south from Albuquerque, turning left into the facility, and also for traffic turning north out of the facility so that you're not sitting behind a large semi-trailer trying to get up to speed. So those will be 600-foot deceleration lanes for going in and out of the facility. Number 4, we spoke at prior meetings, at least 2 or 3 occasions, about the size of the facility. The size of the Environment Department permit was actually for a 25,000 square foot facility. As you'll recall, the county had approved a 16,100 square foot facility. There was some thought of expanding that size, but what we're going to do as part of the accommodation of the community's concerns is we're going to stick to the 16,100 square feet and not ask the county to expand that in our special use permit. So it'll be smaller than the facility that was requested in the Environment Department permit. The other thing, so one of the concerns that folks had last time was, how do we know that you're not taking hazardous waste, medical waste, et cetera, et cetera? And again, these are just trucks that are going around to people's homes picking up trash. This is exclusively residential waste. So it's not commercial waste, it's not construction and demolition, it's not hazardous. As you know, sometimes people throw a paint can or throw something into their trash that's not supposed to go into their trash. And so what the permit application said was that Universal Waste would inspect 1% of the loads to make sure, just on a check basis, that there aren't illegal hazardous waste. And what we have agreed to do to accommodate the community's concerns is to double that to 2%. That sounds like a small amount, but you can imagine when you have trucks coming in and dumping trash, it's a very difficult process to go through it all and make sure that there is no hazardous or illegal waste in there. So we're going to double that to 2% of the loads that come in, up from 1% of the loads will be inspected to make sure there's no illegal waste. Another thing that we heard from you all was people were concerned about the drivers using community roads, the side roads, the residential roads, and so our commitment is, and this is difficult to put in writing, that we will never, ever, ever drive on a particular road, but we are going to use Rio Bravo, Broadway, and the interstates, and those will be the primary roads. The drivers will be instructed to avoid all of the neighborhood roads and stay off of those neighborhood roads. And we will use primarily Broadway, Rio Bravo, and the interstate. And in fact, we're going to use the interstates. The most direct route from here to the landfill is to take Rio Bravo, but we know that Rio Bravo is going to be under construction. Rio Bravo will probably be finished around the time that this facility gets built. So there will be additional capacity on Rio Bravo, but we understand that in the interim there might be some additional congestion on Rio Bravo, so our drivers will be instructed to go directly to the interstate and use that, even though it's a longer route to Cerro, Colorado, at least until Rio Bravo is finished. But they will be trained on an annual basis to stay off neighborhood roads, no shortcutting, etc. And it doesn't really make much sense. It doesn't get you there any quicker if you go onto a neighborhood road. Lastly, and this is kind of a larger element, we do understand that folks were concerned about what times of day this would be operating. And we had, our original permit said it would be open during daylight hours. But what we're going to do is we're going to say from 6 to 6 so that it's not operating after, when kids are going to softball and baseball and football. So it'll operate from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Of course, all the loads will have to be covered to make sure that trash is not coming out, and we will use best management practices to make sure that any trash that does incidentally blow out of a truck is cleaned up. And another one of the issues that folks raised was, well, what are the peak times? Is it going to be during rush hour when you have all these trucks coming in and coming out? And the good news is that the peak times for trucks coming into the facility will be around 10 a.m., so after the morning rush hour. And then there will be another surge of vehicles coming in around lunchtime, 1:30 p.m., again, outside of the normal rush hour. And then the last loads will be coming in between 3:30 and 4:30. Those are not hard and set fast rules, but our drivers, the company wants to avoid rush hour because we don't want these trucks sitting in traffic. And that coincides with the collection schedules, right? You don't see a lot of trash being picked up at 4 in the afternoon, so it'll be back in the facility. And the materials that are left at the facility, in most cases, will be gone by the end of the day. So very little waste will be stored on site. Let me just talk, and I'm sorry to go on and on, but process, what happens next? So after this meeting, we will collect comments that are received here orally and on the website. We are currently working with the Environment Department on a revised permit application. The Environment Department will determine, if it does determine, that the application is complete. And then the Environment Department will, and Danielle, forgive me if I'm getting this out of order, I believe the Environment Department will schedule the next hearing. There will be another hearing on this that will actually be scheduled by the government. And that's when all of the public notices and all that good stuff will be done. And that will be the final hearing. We'll have our hearing officer, Mr. Virtue, who you remember from the last hearing, and he will make a recommendation on whether to approve the permit to the Secretary of the Environment. So keep your eyes on those. Those of you still read the Albuquerque Journal. I know there's not many of us left, but there will be notices published in the various newspapers and other media, and we'll make sure that the email list that we've created that I think brought you all here will continue to use that. So in conclusion, I just want to remind you that UWS wants to be a good neighbor. They've been in this community for 9 years, and frankly, I've been in this community for 35 or 36 years. I realize the South Valley, especially this Broadway corridor, y'all have borne the brunt of a lot of industrial development over the last, 100 years, literally. And that's for a lot of reasons. The zoning, where people own property, and, enforcement issues from various governments. But Universal Waste is a family-owned company. They play by the rules. We're having all these meetings because they want to play by the rules. And they understand the Environment Department's role in enforcing it, but they also understand that they're part of the community. And so, Mark will talk about this a little bit. He's a guy who says, if you want to come over, somebody asked the other meeting, how do we know that you guys aren't going to be accepting hazardous waste? You got to make an appointment or something, but if you want to come out and visit the facility, I think that UWS will be glad to arrange community tours. You have to be safe, you have to know you're coming because there's trucks moving around or whatnot. But I think that they're open to being a part of this community. They have had similar facilities in other communities where people they hardly even know that the facility is even operating. And Mark will talk about that a little bit more. But this is a family-owned company. Mark and his adult kids own it, and they're committed to the city of Albuquerque and Bernalillo County. They employ between 90 and 100 people locally here, and they do a lot. They teach young people how to drive diesel trucks, which is a big deal, a real job skill, and they really want to be part of this community. So, if I may, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Blackburn, who would like to say a few words. Thanks, Mark.
Okay, thank you. I want to clear up one thing that you said. As far as the trash that's coming here, it's MSW, which is considered municipal solid waste, which includes residential. There is some commercial, and there are restaurants in it. But it's not industrial waste, and it's not industrial hazardous waste, where you have chemicals, oil, solvent, anything. We don't do any of that. We don't do that in any part of our company. So just want to clear that up. So it's municipal solid waste. I appreciate everyone coming out tonight. I have a lot of respect for people like you. You care about your community, you care about your families, your kids, and you make it a point to come out. Or a lot of people, they don't do that. They'll complain about something, but they don't come out. So although I don't remember all your names, I do respect the fact that you do that. And I want to say that there's no way that I would come into this or any community if I thought what we were doing would hurt anybody. And it doesn't. And we have these facilities in several locations, several places, and they really do work well.
Do you live next to one? I mean, it's nice that it's your family business, but put yourself in our shoes and live right next door.
Well, luckily no one lives right next door to this one.
I live a quarter of a mile away.
I know. I work and my family works in one every day, 10, 12 hours a day. And I'm in that facility, and my office is in that facility every day. And it's just the job that we do. We are waste haulers, we are waste processors, we're recyclers, and we are, unfortunately or fortunately, we're in a business that a lot of people, you all contribute to trash, recyclables, all the things we all do.
You see all the trash along Broadway? I complain about it all the time. All the trash along Rio Bravo, because trucks aren't covered. Who enforces it? Nobody. I call all the time to get trash picked up. They come every 6 months to clean it up. So how is that going to change? With more trucks covered and trash flowing out of the trucks. Now it's right in our neighborhood with how many vehicles? How many vehicles will be coming up and down to these stations? Do you think it's going to be less trash on the road?
I think so. I can tell you that where I'm at, and we have a street sweeper, that we sweep the streets every day. So if we actually pick up trash on our streets, it's not anything that we did.
I do all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
But we do it just to be a better, just to make
When
sure
you drive
that.
home tonight, we'll drive down Broadway. They picked up about a month ago. Now, you take a look, take a good look.
Yeah.
So it's, for us as a neighborhood, it's a big concern. Because we're already being dumped on, nothing's being enforced, we call all the time. And so now we have another company that is bringing trash in. You think it's gonna get better? And I appreciate your family owned, and I appreciate that you work in the business. But this area does not, the enforcement is not here. It is not here. So,
Well, unfortunately, I can't do anything about the enforcement. All I can do is take care of enforce our company and what we do. And we do keep our streets clean because we don't want anyone thinking that it's us doing it. So we're out constantly cleaning and making sure. One of the things we do, if a company brings a load to our facility that's untarped or has spillage, they can't dump. They have to turn around and leave.
but they'll be coming to your facility uncovered. That's the deal.
They're pretty well, they live by the rules pretty much. They're not, this is a professional facility. This is going to be something that's used by municipalities possibly. This is something that's used by our company, which we try to be professional. We are professional. So we're not fly-by-nights that are going to be running down without tarping our loads or anything like that. Yes, sir.
I think it's great that this is a family-owned operation, etc. And I really appreciate everything that we've heard about you trying to do everything you can possibly can. Our concern is that this is not a location for that kind of a business. Try to put it anywhere else in the city this close to a residential area. Northeast Heights, North Valley. You have to relocate, that's what you have to do.
Well, we've owned this property for 10 years now. We're zoned in one of the heaviest industrial zones in the area. And, I think it's a good location for it. If we do our job right, you won't even know we're there. You will not even know we're there. I will tell you that now. I have a location in Santa Fe Springs, California. It does 2,000 tons a day on 4 acres. 2,000. We've been there 6 years in August. It'll be 6 years. And I will tell you, and I will swear to it, that we have never had a complaint from a neighbor. We can see houses from our place. It's in a county area. It's in an industrial area. And we have never had a complaint because we do our job the right way. And that's the difference. And that's what I can promise you, that I would not do this. And I told you at the last time at this meeting, I would not do this if I thought for 1 minute that I would have anything to hurt any of you in this room. I wouldn't do it. But this can be a safe, good facility, helps with air quality. We are working on, most of our fleets throughout our company are natural gas, not diesel. We're moving trucks in New Mexico now. We have a couple in East Mountains today that are natural gas trucks. And we want to move more and more natural gas here. I know the city of Albuquerque, they have natural gas trucks that they're running now. I don't know to what degree, but I know they do. And we're trying to do the best we can for the community and for our environment. And that's what we do. I feel more like I'm an environmentalist than I am a waste hauler because I try hard to do the right thing with it. And that's all I can tell you.
We're all aware of the normal air currents and everything. And it's great that you're concerned about community's health, etc. But we keep insisting that it's not a location appropriate for that kind of business.
Does anybody else have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Do you own the trucks that come in and out
Yeah.
of your facility?
I own all the trucks that are there now. We own, yes.
But then, so the attorney, I'm sorry, I've forgotten your name, Mr. Caddy.
Yeah.
You said there were little trucks that were in the neighborhood. Those are hardly little trucks.
Smaller than.
Smaller trucks.
So, so they dump into a big semi, or what?
Yes, yes.
So these are semis that are gonna come?
Semis that are gonna come out with the loads and then go to the landfill. So the smaller collection trucks in the neighborhoods that are already here, they're already picking up your neighborhood every week.
Yeah.
Those could go dump there.
They can go to your
So they
facility?
dump
Yes.
in a pit?
Yes.
Or they dump in a pit?
Well, it depends.
And then it gets scooped up and put in another truck?
Yes, or you can dump on the floor and you can slide it into a truck trailer. There's a tunnel underneath. It depends on what kind. There's different kinds.
Is it like the one on Montesa Park, where homeowners go there, back up those stuff down there, and then you got a backhoe that switches it into the trucks?
So this facility won't be for the public to dump at?
Yeah, no. But I'm just saying, as far as operation, is it like that?
Similar. Except this facility will be totally enclosed.
Okay.
You said you've been here for 9 years. I've been on the board of directors, I've been the chairman of the neighborhood association off and on for probably the last 15 years. Now, we've been good neighbors. We did not fight you when you first came in. We did not. You've been there. You do not need to expand. We already have all the sewage from Albuquerque right here in the neighborhood. And the sewage treatment plant, they call it water reclamation and all that. What we need to do is understand that we can't continue to have this expansion of waste in our community. Like I said, we did not fight you, we have not been fighting you, but we don't need that extension of time, the size of trash coming in from other areas. People in those counties need to take care of their own trash. It's very similar to, why should I take trash from my neighbor and allow it to be dumped there? Because we have a problem. The problem is so much zoning that allows this kind of stuff to come in. Now we have the state, the Mexico Environmental Department involved in doing that. They didn't go through the county to do stuff like that. We don't want that kind of stuff in our communities anymore. With all due respect to you as a businessman, we don't need that, my friend. Don't do that. We've been saying that over and over. This community is an overburdened community. We've got too much trash, too much toxic, too much contamination of the soil, too much contamination of the air, too much contamination of the water. We do not need that anymore. I mentioned before the toxic stuff floating in the air from the residential trash. People are sick, they've got disease, all kinds of other stuff that people put in their trash. Think about what we all put in our trash. We don't put clean stuff in our trash. You don't have the building enclosed. You've got curtains, plastic curtains, is what I understand.
No, it'll be completely enclosed.
Completely
It
sealed.
will.
And what kind of ventilation? Is it clean air?
Yeah, we have filtrations in the
We've
roof.
got vermin, contamination, we've got the stuff that we can, the health problems that we already have in our community. A lot of the lung respiratory illnesses that we already have. We already have in this community, in the entire South Valley, 20-year shorter lifespan, 20 to 22-year shorter lifespan than people that live in the heights that have much cleaner air. Now, we've already been working on this issue for many years. So we don't need that. We don't need that. You understand that. You all understand that. It's political and it's also racist. This community is 80 to 86% Mexican American. That's why it's being put in this community. We don't need any more racist policies that are going to be continuing to jeopardize the health, the well-being of our community. We don't need that.
Well,
Please understand that.
I understand what you're saying.
All right, with all due respect, it's you as a human being. I don't need you to be my enemy. I'm not your enemy. I'm asking you and all the policymakers to do the right thing. And we will continue to resist. Not just you, any kind of contamination comes into our community anymore. We've had enough. I don't want to see those trucks on 2nd Street. I will be taking pictures and documenting that.
Well, one thing you said, first of all, I do
Can you
respect.
speak up louder? I have a
Oh.
hard time hearing.
First of all, I do respect you, and you are right, that you are good neighbors. We have never had any issues. But we've never had any issues with you either. And this has nothing to do with who lives here, about race. All this has to do with is we are in the zone that it permits this kind of a use. This doesn't have anything to do with your race or anybody's race. I can tell you that for a fact. My grandkids are half Mexican.
I don't mean
okay?
you personally.
I know,
mean
I'm
policy.
just telling you, for me, that goes deep with me because of my family and where I come from and what neighborhood I come from. I was born in Compton, California with nothing and had nothing. And I know what it's like. And I know what it's like to get stuck on the back end of it. And I've tried to do better by myself. That's why I would never, I don't appreciate that. I would never, ever do something to hurt you guys. These are clean facilities. They work well. There's air filtration systems. All we're doing is collecting your waste and taking it to the landfill.
Not our waste.
Well,
The
your waste,
whole-
your waste,
the whole
your
four
waste,
counties.
your waste also, right? Your waste too. And the waste in this general area. But that's all I can say on that. I respect your opinion, but that's the only reason we're here is because that was a facility that we bought 10 years ago. And our company has grown around it. And we have all our employees that live locally. There are not all of them locally, but a lot of them are locally right here. They work every day with good jobs, with high-paying jobs, with benefits, with 401k. That's the kind of company we are. To make sure our employees, and you can ask anyone that works for us, they're taken care of the right way. And so whether we get it or not, you don't want it, I get it. If the hierarchy here says no, then no, that's fine. But there's no other reason except this is what I do for a living, this is what our family does for a living, and we're just trying to make it better for the community. And
I'm just
believe it or
saying,
not,
you don't need to take advantage of those policies. You don't need, we've had enough. We haven't bothered you, you've been here for 9 years, nobody's bothering you. We haven't, we didn't fight you. We knew what was going on, but this expanding it this way is not right. Don't put trash in your neighbor's yard. Don't put stuff in my closet. Don't put stuff, but don't take advantage of the policy, of the zoning policy. That's all I'm saying. Wherever you grew up in Compton, great. I know Compton, but don't do it anymore. Don't take advantage of those policies.
yes, ma'am.
Mark, how many facilities do you have operating?
I think we have about 20 different facilities throughout our company.
How does this one compare, just
In size?
so far?
In size, it's on the smaller side, especially now that we've reduced it. It's the good thing, everything's going to be brand new. Brand new building, brand new everything. All the hardscape will be new. We'll have clean water, drainage. We're going to put natural gas to our yard so we can start bringing in more natural gas trucks, which helps with the air. And there is a problem for all of us. So we want to be able, our fleet we have about 750 trucks. Our fleet is probably 80% natural gas now. And the state of New Mexico doesn't really have a lot of natural gas. It's coming, and we're working towards that. But If I built that transfer station, and I promise you, you wouldn't even know it was there if I didn't tell you. Except you see, because the trucks are all on the road anyway. They're driving down the street, they're driving through your neighborhood, they're driving everywhere. You would never know, because I work in a very small place where my office is. I'm there every day. I've never had one neighbor call for an odor complaint, a dust complaint, a vermin, because every day I clean the whole building out. It's always clean, every day. It's done, it's clean. And it's not 1,200 or 800 ton a day, it's 2,200 ton a day. So it's bigger, there's more there. It works if you do it right. Now, if you're a lousy operator and you don't take care of business, start getting a bunch of NOVs, then you should get kicked out. You shouldn't be allowed to have it. But that has never happened to us. We're working on landfills. We do this job that a lot of people don't want to do, but we have to take care of our trash. What I'd like to see is more recycling here. I would love to do more recycling for the neighborhood, get more recycling programs going. So we're not throwing all this good, cardboard and good stuff into the landfill. We should be recycling. And if we get this facility, maybe that's the next thing we can do. We can move into that, and that's kind of the goal. And we didn't just come in here and start doing it. We worked our way into it. We got here, we didn't have anything. We got to know people, got to know you. You're right, we are good neighbors. We've never had an issue. And we just started growing. Pretty soon now we have a lot of people, we have a lot of families. Probably out of our 90 plus people, what do we have? Probably 400 people that we feed, that our company feeds every day. I'm proud of that. And we charge a fair rate. We don't overcharge, but we don't undercharge. We charge a fair rate so we can give our employees a good living and a real job, a career, not just paying a minimum wage. We don't do that. We pay them good so that we can have good people and try to help the people that work for us. So,
Do you live here? Do you live in?
I did live here. I had a house in Rio Rancho, not in the city, right outside. We lived here half and half. My middle son and I, when we first started. I don't now, but I'm here a lot, But my son met his wife here. So it's been good for us. And we love it here. We love the people here. So we're not.
Why couldn't you go down further south?
Well, I can only afford to buy so much property for one thing, and I've already bought this one, and I can't afford to keep moving. And we've spent years and a lot of money going through the permitting process, and you know how these lawyers are. They're pretty expensive. So we're kind of down the road here now, and so. I feel like I'm really comfortable with what we're doing, and I feel like we'll do you guys right. I don't think you have anything to worry about. I know you think you do, and I respect you guys. I respect you. But trust me, it's going to be a good facility. Not going to hurt anything. Yes, sir.
It's very unfortunate, because we hear this over and over again here in this community. It's unfortunate a lot of time with business people, because if business people, and we very support family-owned business. We got family members that own family-owned business. But it's unfortunate that many times that it has to be the environmental department, when we've had struggles throughout these years with the environmental department to go along with that too. But when it has to say to a business that it's very important, that whole thing that you brought up legally in terms of the CIA and all this kind of stuff, do you realize how that came about? Because that didn't come about in the kindness of anybody's heart or anything else. That came about because of communities like this community that's been standing up for its rights for many, many, many years. And many years than older than some of us. It's been that long. So I say that because business could come to the community before they've applied for the permit, actually. And say, hey, can we sit down and talk for a little bit? Can we talk about some things? Can we do all of this? Instead of having to get all the way through the permit process, and then for an agency to say, well, you need to go back to do something that the community created themselves. in this particular part, that whole piece legally that we're talking about. And if you go back a little bit of time in this community, then you would know that the Montesa Park transfer station was originally going to be located right here on the corner of Second, right down the street here, right next almost to the community center here. That was going to be the first site of the city's only garbage transfer station, and the city was going to be in this community. And we fought back that long to say, why us? Why has it got to be us all the time? So we can talk zoning, we can talk about all those kind of things, but we can't negate the fact at the end of the day that many times that these facilities, if you use the zip code system or whatever you want in any part of the country, that the majority of the kind of facilities we're talking about are located in what is considered low income, working class. And that's a report that was put out years ago to businesses and so on, say, where should we site many of these facilities? And they said primarily, I'm not saying you said,
Yeah.
but what they said in the report, very interestingly, locate them in low-income communities, locate them in what's perceived as uneducated communities. And even in New Mexico, they used something else besides that list was very interesting. And they said, located primarily in Catholic communities. And that's very interesting. And that testimony has went to the city, it's went to the state, it's went to the federal government for years and years. So this is the make-up story that's being told here. Unfortunately, history speaks for itself. So this community was expected to, so when you're saying these kind of things, why about these other 3 or 4 counties? The comment was made earlier here is that why do we have to be the ones to accept everybody else's trash? We're the ones that are accepting everybody else's shit that's coming out down the stool when they flush their toilet, because we're right down the street from that station. And then you also heard that we had to interrupt the meeting twice because airplanes flying very low over here and so on. Do you know that we've been fighting that battle for a long time, the Department of Aviation and so on? Because that's a little lightweight noise right now compared to what the original noise was. So for me, at the end of the day, I think that we want to take collective responsibility, then it's about time that we take collective responsibility, and people have to take the collectiveness in terms of the trash that they're developing, and that needs to be spread out in various communities throughout the city, whether it be the Heights, whether it be Rio Rancho, or wherever it may be, that's the way it needs to be. So that's just where we're coming from. We've been in this business, the trash business, for 8 or 9 years. We've been in the people saving life business for many years. And we're here to protecting the health, safety, and well-being of our people that came before us, our people that now are with us, and those that are going to be with us at a later time. So if you understand that, then we're the ones that have been living next to these facilities you're talking about. Not down the road in many cases, directly next to them. So that's just that. I would have wished at the end of the day you would have came here before the permit process was being implemented. I'm not saying it would have changed, but at least it would have been a signal of pure honesty on the part of your family-owned business that that's the way life should be in other situations.
I wish it worked that way. It just doesn't, because you don't get to that point that fast. But one thing you said, which is a fact, is you said you people are smart people. What you just said, how could I disagree with what you just said?
Okay?
I can't. But don't let a good facility go by because you've gotten a bunch of bad ones. Don't look at something that's positive. I respect you. I respect what you're about. But I also respect people that look, and sometimes they go with the right way. Don't just say no because you've been taken advantage of maybe in the past. Look at what we have to offer. Look at what we're trying to do here. And this is a positive thing for the overall community. And then I would have an ultimate respect. Even at the end of the day, you said no. But I would have a lot of respect. It's easy to say no on everything. It's easy when you get your feelings hurt, because I've done it myself. And I get pissed off, excuse my French, and I say no to everything. And I let the good stuff go by sometimes because I'm not really looking at it. So I would just ask you to look with open eyes on what we're talking about. At the end of the day, if you still feel the way you feel, I respect that too. Just ask you to look with open eyes.
My only last comment would be is that if you all were totally interested in dealing with residents in this community, that you should have considered coming to the community before the permit was filed, and that would show some real honest, get down to some business kind of things. And so by the time you get to the other end, you're in a confrontational mood. And for years and years and years, we've been saying over and over again, that doesn't necessarily mean we would agree. We're tired, okay? And if you live next to any of those facilities, you can talk about living next to your own facility. After years and years of that, there's a moment of tiredness, okay? Just plain sick and tiredness. Sick and tired of being sick and tired over and over again. So I'm just going to say to you in the end, it would have been absolutely fantastic as your family-owned business that when it came to the community and at least engaged in a discussion before the permit was applied for.
Well, I went through the process, and that's why we're here, and that's why we didn't fight not having these meetings. That's why I'm standing here today, because I want to give you your respect, that's all. And again, if you decide, if you have the mindset that you have, I respect that too. I get it, you know, can't change you. Yes?
Well, I see,
Go ahead.
oh, go ahead.
My thing is just, I keep thinking, why did you choose that location? What realtor, who sold you that, and you said, this is perfect for your kind of business? I mean, what sold it, you know?
What we did when we first came here, we bought it because it used to be I think they did grading work there, so they already had trucks there. They already had an office, they already had a shop. And it was 10 acres, it was a nice piece. It was in an industrial zone. Trucking had been there for years, and when we came to the state, it was all, it was permitted and it was perfect. So
That's all that was important.
Pardon me?
That's all that was important to you?
No, getting into a zoned area, the proper zoned area.
Yeah, but I mean, you could see there was a community.
Well, when I was there, when I first went there, really, if you look where we're at, it's all industrial around there. There are no houses around us. Not in the immediate area, and it was our trucking yard, so there's limited places you can put trucks too, you know, so that's how that happened. We didn't come pick out an area or a low-income area or an area of any culture so that we thought we had an advantage. When we first bought it, I didn't even know if we would ever build a transfer station. I didn't even think about it. But as times are changing and landfills are going, it's harder and harder to get to the landfills, and landfills are closing down, we have to think ahead. And then that's why we decided to try to do this.
Could you say more about that?
Pardon me?
Landfills, could you say more about that situation?
Yeah.
That the landfills are closing down?
A lot of landfills are filling up. Like, for example, the big one, I think the biggest landfill we have here right now is in Rio Rancho. And Waste Management owns that landfill, and all we keep hearing is it's going to close, it's going to close, it's going to close. And they just keep going higher and higher because and Sandoval landfill's getting ready to close down. So we're losing landfill space, and we have to transport farther. So, for example, we maybe could take our trash to Socorro, but then what do we do? The people of Socorro say, hey, don't bring us Bernalillo's trash. Let them take care of their own trash. And but instead, so where do we go? Or Rio Rancho is a nice town, and they have a landfill sitting right in the middle of it. It's been there for years, and it's full. So you can't say that they're not taking care of theirs, because they are. So, you know, we all have the same problem. We all have the same problem. You know? But yeah, we are losing landfill space. That's why we have to do better. We have to recycle. We have to take stuff out of the landfill. And those are the programs that we need to do. And the state, I'd love to work with the state to try to do more of that.
How easy is that to do?
It's hard. It costs a lot of money. That's the problem. We recycle about 100,000 tons a month at the location that I always compare it with, because I'm like right in the middle of everything there. And it took me 8 years to get that. And I promised the people in a meeting like this, they said, and we were trying to get 1,500 ton a day is what we were trying to get. And it did take, honest to God, 10 years by the time we built it. So we were at a hearing like this, and they finally let us do it, but they said, we're only going to give you 750 ton a day until you prove that you're not going to have any problems. And in 3 months, they gave us our 1,500. The city manager and the city council came to us a year ago and said, things are going so good. Do you want us to up your permit to 2,500 ton a day? And we just got our expansion to 2,500 ton a day so we could do more.
Because you're helping the city out a lot, and you're helping the county here.
And we're helping with recycling. I mean, now, not only are we recycling at your house, businesses, we're doing in Rio Doso, even here in the state here, and we do organic recycling. We do make mulch, compost. We take all that out. In California is the most we do. We recycle food waste. We actually take food waste, your food scraps, your garbage, and we put it through a machine, and then we put it into what's called an anaerobic digester, and we make natural gas out of it. And then we fuel our trucks with that natural gas. And that's taking all the pollutants out of the air. The transfer station will not give you any airborne pollutions. It's all inside. There's a filter, and the filter sucks up into the filter, and it cleans the air. It doesn't make it, you're not, the only thing you have here running around, you have a bunch of diesel trash trucks that hopefully we can get to natural gas trash trucks. So when they're going through your neighborhood, you get rid of all the particulates and from the diesel. But we have to have a place to do it, and we have to be local to do it because natural gas isn't as efficient as diesel. So you have to drive a lot, you can't drive as far with it. So there's a lot to it. It's not just like we one day said, let's build it here. We worked hard at trying to figure out the best way to do it.
So how many vehicles are you adding to the road to come from Bernalillo County, from all of Bernalillo County, Sandoval County, Torrance County? How much more traffic is going to be added?
I don't know how many trucks we'll actually get. I don't know that. I know our trucks are already coming there every day. So our trucks are already here.
Except for that the permit, so this is a question I have, the permit says 488 truck trips a day, which is 244 trucks.
Is that at the lower level?
Yeah.
Now
That's the maximum.
no, but that's at the
1,200.
At the 1,200 tonnage. Yeah.
And then what's the current tonnage that you're saying that you're going to do?
That much, 1,200, maximum, but 1,200 tons a day.
So the maximum truck trips would be
244 trucks.
or 488. Okay, how does that line up with your original proposal to the county, which was 166 truck trips? That's what is in the county permit. County permit? 166 in 2019.
Oh, that's
for a registered facility.
that's just the park trucks that go in and out of our yard, right? Yeah, when we first started back then. Yeah. Those we don't dump in there at all. That's just the truck parking. So we still had to fill out for truck trips.
Okay. All right, so the permit is going to be maximum of 244 trucks a day.
Which is when you do a truck trip, it's truck in, truck out, that counts as two.
Right, I get that.
Yeah.
So you said that you were reducing the truck trips. That's what, Mike, you said at the beginning, and that you were reducing the tonnage. Tell me again.
The permit was originally submitted, it was for a maximum of 2,000 tons per day, average of 1,300 tons per day. So as we work with the community and work through all the permitting process, the tonnage has been reduced to 1,200 tons per day.
Can you speak up, please?
1,200 tons per day, maximum, average of 800 tons per day.
And then but you didn't lower the number of truck trips.
Yeah, so when we were, our original permit application, which was for a maximum of 2,000 tons per day, had a higher number of trucks, round trips per day.
I don't think so. The max that I ever saw in anything was 244.
Because my guess is what you've seen is the permit application that went to hearing last year. So before we got to that point, though, we had submitted an original permit application that we worked with the state on, and those numbers have changed over time.
Okay, well, I will just let you all know that we invited some UNM faculty and students to do some research with regard to the community impact, and they wrote up a report. I will send it to you.
Environmental, is it an environmental impact?
Right, environmental impact. So, and Assis Lopez is here. He was a lead on that study. And so I have that. Basically, the essence of that is that there is impact. There is big impact. There's impact from the particulate matter, air, the prevailing winds and how those come through, the microplastics that are released in this process, concern about water and water contamination into the soil, and the ecosystem hazards from having a transfer station. So I will share that with you. And make sure that you get copies and submit it also to NMED. But basically, the essence of this is that your community impact statement said there will be minor to moderate impact. What our community is all saying is it is major impact to our community. And we want you to recognize that we feel like this is a major impact to our community.
Can I get a copy of that?
Yeah,
And Jen,
Thank
if
you.
you'll send it to me.
yeah,
I'll
I'll send it.
send it to everybody.
I'd like to go through that. Good work.
And if you have any questions, just let me know. We can go
Okay, okay.
I can include Assis's comment.
Well, and when we go through it, if there's anything we can mitigate, anything we can do to make it better, you know, anything that you came up with that might help us make it even better, we'd be all for it. Anything that would make anything better, you know? So that would be positive. So I look forward to talking to you about that.
The other thing I want to say is that I appreciate the opportunity for a second community meeting, because the first community meeting felt pretty rushed in terms of getting notice out, and it was easier to get notice out to people this time because I had more time. So I appreciate both the notice and the second meeting, so.
Thank you. No, we were glad to do it.
Yeah, what
Yes,
have you
ma'am.
been doing the last 10 years in that property then? So I have a couple of questions.
We've been doing our truck maintenance. We have a fueling, you know, we fuel our trucks, work on our trucks, wash our trucks. We have a wash bay there, and it's just a trucking operation.
Okay, because again, maybe you personally can't be accused of racism, but clearly the zoning and those things were racist acts that were passed in this, not only in this community, but across the country.
I understand.
And I'll let you finish. And we're obviously seeing that racism today very unclothed, right? It's become very clear, and obviously that's let other little demons out of the closet. So we're not blaming you for that, because that was created before, but there's still an issue of racism within that, right? So again, what were you doing there before? Why can't you continue doing that if that's what would make you a better neighbor in the community, number one? And then number two, when you folks talked about overburdened communities and what came out of that, right? Because all you have to do is drive into the neighborhood and you know that it's overburdened. So what kind of modifications have you considered based on that? Because I'm not too sure that the modifications that you talked about, which they're good, reducing the volume and all, is better than what was in there before, but I mean, you understand why the community is so upset, and when we talk about overburden, well, how can you pretend that that's not going to be an impact, right? So for me, it's like, why don't you just keep doing what you're doing, since that nobody has really challenged you on that. It's not going to impact your business. in Valencia, and the other counties can figure out what they're gonna do with their trash, and why should it be sent over here? And we already get it, the sewer system, Rio Rancho's sewer as well, it's not just water. So there's a lot of overburden issues here, so we don't really think that you've taken that into consideration when you're basically upping your own process to basically, it will basically contribute to overburden.
Honestly, I do look at that. I do. And I've changed locations at several facilities that we've been at in the past, because I do look at that, because I think it's wrong. And I hear you, and I agree with you, and it's not fair. And I try not to be in, I try to stay away from low-income areas, because I don't want to put more on them. And honestly, this is an industrial area. This is like one of the heaviest industrial uses in Bernalillo, and that's what we're zoned for. I had opportunities before to get cheaper property and bigger property. I won't go there because I don't want to do that. So I do that. But here I really believe that this is a fair zone area by the county, by the state, and we're going through all the positive, we're doing everything the right way. And one of the things you have in your environmental assessment of this is we do have stormwater drains. It's all going to be hardscaped with stormwater treatment on the property. We're not taking any shortcuts. We're not going to have any dirty water running down the streets. We're not going to have anything like that. Everything is, inside. Everything's filtered. It's so. To answer your question, we don't try to go into bad.
This is a situation that actually calls for what's known as a health impact assessment. It's a tool to measure these kind of situations, not only in the cities, but statewide and even internationally. A health impact assessment tool is something that is to be able to judge, taking into account the social determinants of health and the impacts that it has, not only economically, but the health impacts that overall, this is a kind of tool that needs to be utilized in this kind of a situation. So let's do it right.
Well, that's a good point, and I wouldn't put our employees into a situation that wasn't healthy for them. I wouldn't do that. So the last thing I would do is have a facility that might make one of our guys sick or girls sick. In one of our sites, we have 38 people that work on a recycle line, and most of them are girls, young mothers that it's a second income for them, and we work it out so they can get there after they drop the kids off, and they can pick them up when it's done. They can get 5 or 6 hours a day to help supplement their income. We have all the PPE, we have all the safety gear, we have everything. So we never had, I don't know of anybody that, I've been doing this a long time now, that has ever had any kind of an illness due to our company. I just wouldn't do that. So certainly wouldn't do it to my own kids and my grandkids that all work for me. Even my grandkids come down there. So, Anybody else? Yes, sir.
My name's Nick Maxwell. I have a question. It may be appropriate for council to answer to. It was addressed earlier how the notice for this meeting was sent out. Am I to understand correctly it was not posted in a newspaper?
So, first of all, this is a meeting, not a public hearing. It's not governed by the Solid Waste Act. The Solid Waste Act requires that there be notice in newspapers. As you know, newspapers are not widely read. So there are very few people who read the legal announcements looking for announcements of public meetings. So at the suggestion of one of you, I don't remember, at the last meeting, it was said, why don't you send postcards to everybody within a mile of the site? So we did that, 478 postcards. And that was, not that it matters, but that was expensive and time consuming. And then we sent emails to everybody who gave me a legible email address. at the prior meetings, and we notified all of the government agencies. The next meeting will be subject to the Solid Waste Act, and that will have public notice requirements. And so it will be published in the Albuquerque Journal for the 13 people who still get the Albuquerque Journal. That will be published there. They will, so it will have those rather archaic public notice requirements. But the purpose of this was to just communicate with the community. We felt the best way to do that was a postcard and then talking to all of you all. I think everybody here has been to a meeting.
As a follow-up question, was it translated into Spanish at all at any point?
No, no, because the last time we went through translating everything for Spanish, and we put an email that said, if you need translation services, let us know, and we didn't get a single response.
Okay, and the last question I had is based upon what was said earlier. Do I understand correctly that the department has received an amended application for review to determine completeness at this time?
An amended what?
An amended application with the
you-
CIA.
There's, a CIA. and
Have
an
they
amended
received
CIA.
it for determination?
I'm sorry, I was talking over you, I couldn't get your question.
The CIA being worked on, has that been submitted to the department for determination of completeness?
Well, so the CIA has been submitted to the department about 3 or 4 days ago. We got comments back from the department, so there'll probably be another version of that CIA that gets, stop me if I'm getting this wrong, so there'll probably be another version of the CIA. But the CIA doesn't get determined to be complete. The application gets determined to be complete. So once we've completed the CIA with the Environment Department, then we will send an amended permit application, and then the department will say this is complete or incomplete. And if it is complete, they will schedule a meeting with all of the public notice.
Can you please outline for us the elements of the CIA?
Yes, so it's a cumulative impact assessment, and it requires us, it's interesting. There's a regulation that was promulgated by the New Mexico Environment Department for landfills, and I think it came out of the Rhino landfill in this neighborhood, and it technically does not apply to transfer stations. However, the Secretary of the Environment requested that we do one, even though this is not a landfill. And it requires you, the regulations require you to use the United States Environmental Protection Agency environmental justice tool, okay? Last year, the United States Environmental Protection Agency got rid of it. You can't even find it online. It does not exist anymore. So what Sauter Miller did was they went out and searched the internet for an old copy of the EPA's now gone environmental justice tool, and they used that environmental justice tool to scope the CIA, and they determined, what is the cultural makeup, what is the primary language, what are the health, and that's all in the CIA. There's reference that they did. There's reference to all that stuff, and a lot of what Laura was asking about, a health assessment. I'm not sure I've ever seen one of those, but some of those elements are in there. And so that is all in the CIA, even though the EPA doesn't have it anymore. And so it analyzes what are the visual aspects, is this going to block the view of the Sandias? Is it going to contribute to groundwater pollution? Is it going to contribute to air pollution? And we're not saying that there's going to be zero impact to air pollution, but what we are saying is that collecting trash creates air pollution, right? Trucks drive around, they burn carbon. This actually reduces the total amount of carbon being burned, and so that's a mitigation strategy. So I guess what I'm saying is, it covers air quality, water quality, scenic views, et cetera, et cetera. It covers a wide gamut of materials. Oh, thank you so much. Socio and economic justice, it determines, and it's true, there are a lot of, this is a highly Hispanic community, and there are a lot of industrial uses here. I'm not saying it was right, but that's what happened. And I can tell you, when we were looking at this facility back in 2019, the county, granted a special use permit, and there was public notice, and nobody, not a single person objected. I don't know why or whatever, but we did.
Well, it's because nobody gets it, right? I mean, even for a hearing, all you have to do legally is place notice in 4 places. the facility, and in other, I mean, so, come on.
Well, the county requires publication in the newspaper,
Yeah,
which I think is good.
I was
There's
involved
no
in last year
reason.
in northern New Mexico where they now have to put a whole page in English and a whole page in
Right.
Spanish. So did you guys just go with the legal thing, or did you, again, put something else? Because you know that nobody reads the legals.
Well, the county tells you what to do, and we did what the county told us to do. So it was newspaper, it was notice to landowners within so many feet. And the reason you guys didn't get notice personally is because you don't live within that range that the county says you have to notify. Everybody around us is industrial, and they got notice, and none of them objected. And so it is unfortunate, because you said, why didn't you come to us years ago? Well, we went through the process that is supposed to generate give and take, and nobody said anything in
When in
2019.
2019?
Sorry?
When in 2019?
I don't remember the date, it was in 2019 that the application was granted, but so it would have been like early 2019. So, for whatever reason, nobody objected, and the county approved the special use permit. But the other thing too is when people say, why here, why not in the Northeast Heights, why not in Rio Grande? We did an analysis, and you may recall this from the public hearing. There are only 3 or 4 sites in all of Bernalillo County where you can legally do this, and this is one of them. And, you know, in public policy, I always encourage people to consider the alternative. You have the president of this company, the owner, he owns 100% of the stock, he and his family. He's here talking to you. If it's not Universal Waste, it's going to be Waste Management. And the president of Waste Management is not going to come here and talk to you.
Well, we have spoke to the president, and when he did want to come, we made sure that he came. So that's why the earlier comment about the knowledge. First of all, you're dealing with a community that's been in the people business for a long time. So we're very familiar with the CIA, and I made comment about it earlier in my comments.
Yes.
In terms of that. So I'm just saying again, it's unfortunate. That burden should not be laid on us, or the guilt of dealing with a family-owned business should not be laid on us, because you all could have came. I'm saying it again, you could have came. All you say over and over again, we're doing everything legally. Now you're saying we went beyond the call of duty to do these kind of things. And so based upon that, the point of the matter is that you could have came. Instead of coming all the time and saying, we've done everything legally. That's all we had to do, and that's all we did. So let me finish.
Yeah.
That's all we had to do, and that's what we did. And you could have come, not because it was legal, because if you lived close or next to one of these facilities, you'd be on the other side of the coin and not at the point where you're at right now. So you still could have come and not have to use the legal case that we're not required by law, we're only doing what's required by law. You're dealing with human beings, you're dealing with real human beings, and you're dealing with the lives of human beings. And that's exactly the thing that we're doing. We're protecting our children, as I said before, and those that come. Along with the point that Lalo brought up, in terms of the cumulative impact statement and all this kind of thing, there's a health impact that goes along with it. You've just seen a document, or you just heard of the document or whatever, to take a look at it. So I'm just going to say it again. I said it to you 4 times before. We hear the law over and over again, you know. And so you're dealing with people here. I chaired the National Environmental Justice Advisory Committee under the Clinton administration. Up until January 20th of this year, I chaired the White House Council on Environmental Justice. So, and this community has been actively engaged in all of those things for many, many, many years. So all we're doing is what you would do is protect the health, safety, and well-being, the death, sickness, and illness of our people for generations upon generation, and we ain't putting up with it no more.
Can I respond?
You sure can?
First of all, don't feel guilty.
No, I have no intention.
No, but you said you feel guilty. Don't feel guilty. Because you have every right, and I'm not asking you to feel bad. I mean, don't feel bad for me. You got to do what you got to do. I respect that. And I didn't know how to get a hold of you. I didn't know you. And that's the honest truth. I didn't know you. We did our out. We didn't hear from anybody. I didn't know you had a group until you contacted us. So I couldn't have gotten a hold of you because I didn't know who you were, with all due respect. But I don't want you to think that I get it. I understand your position. I respect it. So you don't need to feel guilty for me. Okay? And I do respect you. You got a lot of knowledge. You're a smart man.
Any other questions? Otherwise, the manager said we have to be out of here at 8 o'clock on the nose or earlier. So if there's nothing else, we'll let him get home to his family.
Is there anything else that you can think of? Anything?
How many jobs?
How many jobs?
How many jobs?
We have 91 to 100, it kind of fluctuates in the state here.
What about in this facility?
Where's
What-
that?
In this facility?
We
what would
probably
be-
have, what do you think, Reagan, maybe 40 people there?
45 currently.
45?
And then the new facility will add, what did we determine that?
47.
Add 40, so 80?
Yeah. And they're good jobs, you know? And would love to hire from the community here. You know, that's where we want to hire everyone, right here. You know, so we try hard to do that. It's not easy to hire people right now, you know? It's hard to get good people, but they really want to work. And, you know, it's hard work driving a truck and doing what we do. But sure love to have them from your neighborhood, you know?
One of the things that they do, this company actually trains CDL drivers, which is an incredibly valuable skill to know how to drive one of these big trucks. That's a career skill. And they hire people who don't know how to do it, they train them up, they get them a license, train them to use heavy equipment. That's a valuable skill in this world.
I saw a new one today. We were at one of our facilities and truck rolls in and I go, hey, didn't he used to work here driving the skip loader? Now he's got his class CDL and he's driving the truck and making about, what, $12, $13 an hour more than he was making before. Yeah. What was his name? Jose. Yep.
Thank you all very much for coming.
That's fun.
There's that website you can go to and look for more information. But we look forward to seeing you again in the next